Well, good evening. Great to see all of you here. Thanks so much for coming. Thank you, Star, for the wonderful introduction, and to the Helicon West crew, including Brian, for making this night possible, and especially for the lovely broadside, where you'll also find a poem by our own Anne Schiffer. So it's great to be on the same page with Anne. That's great. Wonderful. Well, I have just a short reading tonight so that we can get to all of you and hear what's new and exciting from the wild, surprising, inspired world of Helicon West, which has been such a force for poetry good in Cache Valley. And I'll start off with some poems from this book, Flexible Bones. Star mentioned it is for sale here tonight. I have both of my books, $12 each or 2 for $20. And I'll read a couple of poems from Flexible Bones and then some new poems as well. This is the first poem in the collection. It's a political poem of a sort, and it's called Bridge. There's a ghost, ghost, ghost in my navel, navel, navel. There's a ghost, ghost, ghost in my bridge. There's a bridge bat bunker in my $100 bill. There's a debt accumulating on my lawn. There's a long time coming to my daughter's birthday party. There's a mall evaporating with the dew. There's a family in the middle of the question, how are you? How's your mess? It's no Iraq, but it will do. There's a reason for the rake rusting outside. There's a treasonous email in my inbox. There's a balance sheet, a boulder, and a P for prophecy, making ghosts out of the bushes and the trees. So, this book is called Flexible Bones in part because I was trying to teach myself to be more flexible as a writer. That's not the kind of poem I would have written when I was working on the first book, but in the second book I thought I wanted to try things out and things that I hadn't tried before. So letting poems be more associative, letting poems be on the one hand narrative. I have some that do tell stories, and then I have others that are more associative, more based on sort of an intuitive sense rather than a logical sense. And I found that when I am listening to poetry and when I'm reading poetry, I come to poetry for a sense of enchantment, not for a logical understanding. And so I've found that helpful when I encounter poetry that doesn't necessarily have what you would consider a storyline, but it may have a sort of a sonic logic, or it may have emotional or dreamlike effects. So I have poems that try to work in both of those realms in this book. This next one is about feeling burned out. Anyone feeling burned out there at this time of year? Not an uncommon feeling this time of year. And it's a long title, but it refers to the muses in our life, and that means for poetry or for any other source of inspiration or energy. Anything that drives you or fuels you. You feel like it's far from you, you're far from your well springs, and you're just about to collapse and you're all dried out, but they're not far from you. It's just a matter of sort of turning in the right direction, redirecting yourself, pointing yourself in a new direction. They haven't abandoned you, and so the title refers to them. The title is, For All Their Disembodied Namelessness, They Sure Do Talk a Lot. She wants to crawl into a cave and wait for her breath to catch up with her. Breath on the mirror, breath on the sidewalk, breath on her hands. Bus breath, book breath, formal breath, known in academic circles as balustrade breath. Aire de cuevas, it's an illness, they say. When you have the aire, cave breath, they say you can't stop wheezing. They say your voice melts into a sticky layer that coats your floor like guano, commodifiable, potentially cosmetic. They say, blessed are the breathless and the emptied out, for they shall inherit as a billows, as a bowl, for they shall respire on pure flame. Well, another aspect of becoming more flexible as a writer and teaching myself to write in new ways was acknowledging that poetry can come from many sources. Poetry can come from many sources. One traditional source for poetry is spiritual questing. If you're on a spiritual quest, you may end up writing a poem about it, inadvertently or on purpose. So this is about a spiritual quest. When I was very interested in learning more about the Virgen de Guadalupe, I was raised Catholic, but we didn't have an intense Marian presence in our family. We didn't have an intense sort of contact with Mary or with the Virgin of Guadalupe the way some Hispanic households do. So I felt like I wanted to kind of reclaim Guadalupe. She's a figure of Mary or of the Divine Mother or of the Divine Feminine who had appeared to a native of the Americas, Juan Diego, who's now a saint, many hundreds of years ago, and has since become the patroness both of Mexico and in a way, of Chicano arts movements as well. She stands for a kind of belonging in the Americas and a kind of feminine divine power. So I was on a spiritual quest, but it was a very contemporary spiritual quest, and I thought, oh, well, I'm not, crawling on my knees to a temple, but this is a spiritual quest nevertheless. So the poem is called Googling Guadalupe. And it's a ranchera song, and there's a part where you have to provide a grito, which is like a little, ah! Like somebody just poked you, or a little, ay! So I'm going to signal you, and when I signal you, then you'll have to do your grito. Okay? Yeah, okay. Googling Guadalupe. Here's links to a theme park in Texas, a cult in LA, and a weeping tortilla in Georgia. And if Medjugorje is just too far away, don't be blue, you can find her on eBay. We're Googling the Virgin, we're searching the web for a lost goddess madre to sing us to sleep. We're Googling the Virgin, we're dragging the net for a muchacha santa to show us the way. And then you can start a little papa, start a little beat. Perhaps you knew her in childhood, you could check classmates.com. Is it possible she was that weird chick in the starry blue dress at the prom? I would not advise that you ask Jeeves. Anybody remember that one? All he has are questions of his own. It's as if he is virtually taunting. Where'd you think you would find her, cabron? That's good, but the next one's got to be, like times 10, okay? We're Googling the Virgin. We're searching the web for a lost goddess madre to sing us to sleep. We're Googling the Virgin. We're spinning the web for a muchacha santa to show us the way. When your carpal tunnel starts complaining and your positas begin to itch, then it's time to step back from the iMac and hunt through the streets for that lady. 4 times she showed at Tepeyac, parece que le gustan las flores. So go make your power establishment, spread flower seeds instead of pavement. It was better. We're riding our motherboard, surfing the web for a lost goddess madre to sing us to sleep. We're Googling the Virgin, we're searching worldwide for a morena santa to show us the way. Good job, thank you, good job. Good job. So, sometimes Googling is a spiritual quest. You can tell yourself that when you're at work. Tell your boss that when you're at work. I'm on a spiritual quest, man. I'll finish writing that report for you after I'm enlightened.